Hello, I'm Will. I'm here with Mike with the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And today we've got for you issue 49 of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Mortal Realms magazine. This magazine came with 2 layer paints, Administratum Grey and White Scar. And as always, if you want to skip straight ahead to the battle report, you can use the chapter bar or a timecode in the description. But we'll have a look through the issue first. So we start off with a look at the Tempest Lords, Stormhost of the Stormcast Eternals. These are noble and courteous warriors. They're also grand strategists who like to meticulously plan out their campaigns of conquest, and they also consider themselves to be consummate warriors. There's a bit more back about Tempest's Eye, which is the city in which they have their Stormkeep, and it's what they did during the Realmgate Wars. Then we have more of the Book of the Dead, this time talking about malignants, which are basically ghosts of various types, or geists, and how Nagash has bound the majority of these to his will in the Nighthaunt processions. Then on the back, the distinction between the Condemned, which is the sort of spirits of prisoners, executioners and jailers, like the Chain Rasps, and then the Wraiths, which are more powerful and more independent malignants. Then we have the race of the Seraphon, basically lizards imbued with celestial magic of Aesir, a variety of species of lizard creatures. Most numerous are the skinks, and there's like the Saurus and various larger ones as well. And it talks about the old ones, who are the mysterious long-dead creators of the Seraphon. Then we have some fiction about a fight between the forces of Khorne, Bloodbound, and the Seraphon. On the back there's also a little bit about Bastillodons, Saurus, and the Blood Reavers of Khorne. Then we have our painting guide, which is painting more Stormcast highlights and details, including using our new paints. So there's just some highlights here on various parts, using Mechanica Standard Grey. And then applying an Administratum Grey highlight on top to bring out the detail even more. Using Corax White to paint some white bits that we haven't done yet. And then there's a section on painting various things like the swirly bits on the Lord Exorcist's Redemptor casket, things like vials as well. It suggests painting these with Nihilite Oxide and then highlighting them. And also the magical fire that Stormsire has in his hand. And also on the wings of the Prosecutors and the Knight Azeros. And finally we have a showcase of some finished models. And there's a few more. And we have another fold-out insert with this issue. This one is about the Realm of Shadows, and on this side we're talking about the War of Shadows, about the forces of the Chaos God Slaanesh invading the Realm of Shadow and fighting people who live there, including the Daughters of Cain, we've learned about before. On either fold here we have Morathi and Malarian, both inhabitants of the world that was, now ascended to godhood. Morathi claims to be the Oracle of Cain, a god that she knows is long dead, but she claims to be his mouthpiece in order to gain the allegiance of her followers. And Malarion, who's effectively a god of shadows.
Also known as Malekith in the world that was.
These two, together with Tyrion and Teclis, helped bind the god Slaanesh in the Age of Myth. And on the other side, a map of Ulgu, the Realm of Shadow, or at least part of it, and some points of interest, including the City of Sigmar, Misthaven, and Hagnar, Morathi's stronghold. But that's it for our content of this issue, so we're going to go straight to our game.
So as usual, before we can get into our game, we have some new rules to learn. This is actually just a short tutorial on how to keep track of victory points, specifically the victory points you gain for slain models. It just gives you some examples, keeping track of how many wounds you've slain on paper or by just having the models to the side so you can refer to them. But on the next page it talks about raising objectives, which is a thing that some battle plans involve. Basically, if you control an objective, you can choose to raise it, and usually you get victory points for doing so, and you deny that objective is no longer relevant in the game. And also how to capture buildings. This is basically if a unit is garrisoning a building, it counts as controlling it. And a short little backstory before we get into the game. Orric Ravenscar, the Knight-Questor, is leading some Sequitors, a Ballista and some Castigators, including Anastasia Starstrike. It's been a while since we've seen her. They've gone up to a ruin on top of a plateau in the Sigyorn and are going to try and take it from the Nighthaunt that are currently infesting it. So we move on to our battle plan, the High Ground. We have just the Realm of Metal board with the Fallen Sigmar statue in the middle with 3 objectives along the line. For the Nighthaunt we have a Spirit Torment, a Tomb Banshee, 5 Glaive Stalkers and 3 Spirit Hosts facing off against a Knight-Questor, 5 Sequitors, 3 Castigators and a Celestar Ballista. For deployment, we alternate, beginning with the Stormcast player. We control objectives by having more models within 3 inches of it than the opponent, so that's back to that way rather than the 6 inches from the core rules. The game will last for 4 battle rounds, and it's whoever has the most victory points at the end wins. Gaining victory points, we have the 2 victory points, whoever has slain the highest number of wounds at the end of the battle round. 1 victory point for the tie. At the end of each battle round, the player who controls the most objectives scores 3, and if it's a tie we score 1. And then starting from the second battle round, at the start of your turn a player can raise an objective you control, and if you do so you score D3 victory points and the objective is removed from play. So that's using the new raising mechanic we learned about. So we'll have to see if that actually comes up, but we'll come back after we finish deploying and get into the game. So we finished up the battlefield and finished deployment. You can see we've got the 3 objectives. One is on the Fallen Sigmar statue, and we rolled on the random terrain effects table and we got mystical again. So any model that is within an inch of the Fallen Sigmar statue, if a wound is allocated to it, you can roll a dice, and on a 6 that wound is ignored. I'll start with the Nighthaunt deployment. 2 Banshee closest to the camera, the 3 Spirit Hosts, and then the 5 Glaive Race, and then just behind is the Spirit Torment, who will be my general. And over on the Stormcast side,
we've got the Knight-Questor, who'll be the general, and then the Castigators. The 5 Secretors are squished in the middle, and we have brought Anastasia Starstrike out the box for once, since she's mentioned in the fiction for the Prime, and then the Ballista over here when it is within 3 inches of the objective already.
It doesn't say who goes first, so we're going to roll off. Battle round 1 of 4, rolling off. I got a 2.
I got a 5. So I will make the Nighthaunt go first, I think.
Okay, so we head into Nighthaunt, turn 1. So my turn's pretty simple. I'll gain a command point in the hero phase, and then my entire army's going to run. The Glaive Race and the Spirit Host rolled a 6 each. They can all cluster around the Fallen Sigmar statue, and some of the Glaive Race can get on top, and they're still going to be in cohesion, 1 inch horizontal and 5 inch vertical. And they can all be on the objective as well, or most of them anyway. And the 2 heroes around as well. I'm just going to keep up on the Banshees in range of that objective. But that'll be it for my turn. On to Stormcast turn 1.
So in my hero phase I gain a command point, and then everybody's just going to move up like this, because if I don't charge the Nighthaunt they will do the same to me, and they'll pin me back in my corner and stop me challenging with the objectives. The only thing that isn't going to move is the Ballista, because it's in range of the objective, and then we'll be on to the shooting phase. In the shooting phase we'll start with the Ballista. It's going to fire at the Spirit Hosts. It's in range for the 4-shot profile, so we've got 4 shots hitting on 5s. They all missed. So that leaves the Castigators. They're going to shoot the Glaive Race because they're unlikely to kill a Spirit Host, and I'd like to get that points for the wounds. So as usual, always doing power to accuracy to reroll 1s to hit. The Prime hits on the 2, the others hit on 3s. Prime's a black dice, and he, as usual, needs to reroll his 2 to hit. So we've got 2 hits in total, and a miss. These wound on 3s. They do.
4+ save the Glaive Race. Failed both, but we're within an inch of the statue, so on a 6 they're ignored. No. So I'm going to take away 1 who was up here and 1 down here, so there's still cohesion across that way.
On to the charge phase. We're going to do the Secretors first, because if the Night-Questor charges first he might end up being out of range for re-rolling. They're probably going to need a fairly big number. 4 is definitely not enough, but I don't think I need my command point for anything, so we'll re-roll. Well, 7. That's not enough. The Secretors fail their charge. And then we're going to declare with the Night-Questor. A little bit risky, but I want to try and give the Nighthaunt something to think about. I think he needs a 6. Oh, a 10. So he will charge to there and get himself within half an inch of that Spirit Host. Then we'll be on to the combat phase, and because of his special rule, when he's selected to pile in, he can pile in up to 6 inches towards an enemy hero, even if that hero isn't the closest model, or at least that's how the magazine explained the rule. So he can actually pile in this way towards the Tomb Banshee.
Yep.
And we can make sure he's more than half an inch away from all the other Nighthaunt, so he can just end up fighting the Tomb Banshee. He has 4 attacks, hitting on 3s, but re-rolling because he's fighting an enemy hero, which he needs for that 2. Yep, 4 hits out of that. Wounding on 3s, 6s cause 2 damage. No 6s, but 3 wounds.
4+ save for the Tomb Banshee. Oh, she made 2 of them, only down to 3 wounds. So the Tomb Banshee gets a strike back, she has 1 attack, hits on 4, and if she rolls a 6 to hit, she does D3 mortal wounds. That's a miss. So that's the end of the battle round, no Battletop tests. So for victory points, we contest this objective. I hold the middle objective, and Stormcast hold the top left objective, so we score a victory point each, and then the Stormcast did 2 wounds, and I did none, so they scored 2 victory points. So it's currently 3 victory points to 1, with the Stormcast in the lead. And going into battle round 2, we're rolling off for initiative. I've got a 4, I've got a 3, I'm going to go first. So I gain a command point in the hero phase, and then there's going to be a fair amount of rearranging of my army. So the 2 Banshees fallen back up onto the platform. The Glaive Race have run and come down, so they're all within 3 inches of the objective. So the Night-Questor tries to come and fight them if he wants to take it. Spirit Hosts have moved around. Unfortunately, the statue's kind of in the way, so we couldn't just move over it. We have to stay 3 inches away from the Castigators, and the Spirit Torment has gone up top. In the shooting phase, hardly ever going to say that, the Tomb Banshee is going to scream at the Secretors. Yeah, and it does say on her data sheet that it happens at the start of the shooting phase, so it's not really a shooting attack, so she can still do it even though she's retreated. So she has to roll higher than the Secretor's leadership of 7 to do any mortal wounds. Oh, she got a 2, so nothing there. So then we'll be on to the charge phase where the spirit hosts will charge. They get a 7, that's probably enough to get them where I want them to go. So they'll finish their charge like that, and then the spirit torment will charge. 6, let's see if that's enough. That's enough to get him down to engage the castigators. So in the combat phase, I'm going to pick the spirit host to fight first. The one at the far end will pile in around, and then the one at the back will pile in that way, and this one will pile into that Secutor with the Great Mace. Then they'll put all their attacks on the Secutors.
Sorry, I forgot at the start of the combat phase I should have declared power to weapons or shields. I'm going to declare power to weapons because the spirit host's damage potential is actually in their mortal wounds, not their regular attacks. So
we've got 18 attacks from the spirit hosts, hitting on 5s, rerolling 1s, and 6s cause mortal wounds. 2 6s so far, 3 normal hits, and rerolling the 3 1s. We'll get another mortal wound, another hit. And the 4 regular hits wound on 4s, getting 2 more.
We've got 4+ saves rerolling 1s against those. Failed both, reroll the 1. Oh, failed.
So that's going to be 5 wounds in total.
So we will lose both of the regular Secutors, and then we'll put a wound on the Prime. I'm going to pick the Secutors because I know that the Spirit Torment does have a 2-inch weapon range, so we can attack them. The Prime will pile in slightly, they'll put all their attacks on the Spirit Hosts. Do the Great Maces first. 4 attacks hitting on 3s, re-rolling misses. 6s cause D3 hits. Re-roll those misses into a 6. So we've got 2 plus a D3 hits, 4 in total. Wounding on 3s, oh, just 2.
4 plus saves for Spirit Hosts, made both.
We've got the Prime's normal attacks on 3s, re-rolling. Re-roll into 3 hits. Wounding on 3s, just 1.
4 plus save, made that as well. Spirit Torment's going to go next, where he'll pile in like this, so he can definitely get within his 2-inch weapon range of the Secutors, and he'll attack them as well, try and finish them off. Spirit Torment has 3 attacks, hitting on 4s, re-rolling 1s. No, he doesn't hit at all.
And that leaves me with just the Castigators, so that one will pile in, and then they'll attack the Spirit Torment, I suppose. So 6 attacks hitting on 4s. Oof. Oh, okay, they all hit. And wounding on 4s as well. Oh, no, only 2.
And 4 plus save for the Spirit Torment. Oop, failed both, so he's down to 3 wounds. In the Battleshock phase, we need to make a Battleshock test for the Secutors.
So they lost 2, so a 6 will see someone else run away. No, yeah, of course. I will get rid of the wounded one, because she's only got 1 wound, and she doesn't do as much damage.
Yeah, that's the situation at the end of Nighthaunt turn 2, onto Stormcast turn 2.
So I gained command point, and then I had a decision to make whether to basically stay in melee and try and do a ton of damage this turn. But I don't think that's going to happen, and I think even if I do, I think the Nighthaunt could still do more damage to me, because I'm never going to kill all 4 of these models in one turn, and they'll probably just hit me back harder, and I'll lose the wounds anyway. So we're going to go for objectives instead. So the Night-Questor's going to stay where he is. He's going to try and kill off some of these Glaive Wraiths to at least contest that objective, if not take it outright. The Castigators retreated, because staying in melee is a bad idea for them. The Secutors also retreated, and they're both on this objective, which means it's currently 3 models to 2 in favour of the Stormcast, and the Ballista shuffled across slightly. In the shooting phase, the Ballista is going to shoot these Spirit Hosts right in front of it. They've got 4 shots again, hitting on 5s.
Wow.
Okay, I'll take that.
Yep.
So each of these is D6 hits. That's 17. Wounding on 3s. Yeah, that's 12 wounds.
And 4 plus saves for the Spirit Hosts. I failed 7, so that's 2 dead and 1 left on 1 wound. So I'll just take away these 2, and then it's on to the charge phase.
So we'll charge to the Knight-Questor. Yep, he's got enough. So he'll charge there, and obviously he's my only model to fight. 4 attacks hitting on 3s. That's 3. Wounding on 3s, 6 is 2 damage. 6 and 2 other wounds as well.
So I'll do the 2 regular hits, save 1, and then the 2 damage. Fail that, so the Glaive Wraiths will all die. Glaive Wraiths are all dead. And that'll be it for Battle Round 2, and I'm just going to concede at this point because I only have 3 models left. And the Stormcast are going to win on objectives and wounds this turn, so I'll be down 7 victory points, and I don't think I can claw it back. So we'll call that a Stormcast victory, and we'll recount that for you now. So that was the game for issue 49 of Age of Sigmar Mortal Realms magazine. How did you think that went?
Well, I've never rolled that before with the Ballista, and I probably won't ever roll that again.
Hopefully
that was
not.
An amazingly good shot.
It was at point blank range, so you can't really miss at that range.
True, they would quick load all the barrels of fire, but I feel like that turned the game around. Because before I rolled those 4 hits, or 17 hits, I actually thought I was going to lose the game because basically your charge had kept me away from the central objective and taken out most of my Sequitors. And if I stayed in melee with them, I think you would have got the better of it. And the Night-Questor being out by himself, he could easily have failed to kill any Glaive Wraith at all. I felt like you were in the control of the board until I suddenly blew away all your armies.
Yeah,
put it that way.
if the Night-Questor hadn't killed anything, I would have just continually fell back with Vinci and just kept you dancing around. Even if there's only one left, just still hold that contest objective. Moving the Night-Questor off on his own, it might be a bit of a mistake because he's only a single model. It also meant that you were out of range for using your command abilities as well, technically.
Yeah. The point of doing that was because I thought, having failed the charge with the Sequitors, if I just left him in line, the danger was you would just then get the pick of where you wanted to attack my line. You could pick on, say, just one unit at a time or ignore him entirely. You could have basically done what you did and gone after the Sequitors and he would have been too far away to do anything. And that way you would have also jammed me in my own part of the board and kept me back. So that was an attempt to seize the initiative. And it sort of worked.
Probably made a mistake by not making sure the Spirit Torment was on the objective as well. Because if I had done that, you probably wouldn't have made that charge.
If I hadn't been able to take the objective, it wouldn't have been just worth a wound on the Tomb Banshee now, I don't think so. It kind of worked out for me as it turned out.
If you'd gone second, then it probably would have been a good move because your whole army would have been there to back him up.
I think you were a bit less surprised than I was.
I wasn't too surprised by the outcome. I thought it was going very well for me, and I think pretty much what was going to happen is that all my stuff was going to get shot. Possibly not in one turn. Well, honestly, thought it was just going to be you'd kill the Glaive Wraiths or make them irrelevant with the first turn shooting. I mean, they're basically irrelevant with only 5 of them. Whittle down the Spirit Hosts, and then I'm surprised the Sequitors didn't kill any Spirit Hosts. I think this game's just going to come down to whether you can kill my Spirit Hosts and Glaive Wraiths before I can kill your Sequitors and Castigators, which shouldn't be too hard considering you can shoot with them. I mean, to be honest, probably could have tied objectives and I'd expect you to win the wound off anyway with all that shooting. In the first turn, you only need to kill one model.
Yes, because if, sure, normally I can usually win the wound off, but the Nighthaunt usually have the speed and the number of models to be able to control the objectives, but in this game you actually only had, the same number of models as me, which is 10.
Technically.
Yeah, because the Ballista counts as a single model, so your advantage in an objective-based game was actually kind of negated with this army.
I think I had 5 fewer wounds as well if you compare the armies, and something like 65 fewer points if you go by the pitch battle rules, which it's not really fair to do that with armies this small using the magazine, but I mean, I don't think either of my heroes did anything. I mean, technically the Spirit Torment re-rolled some 1s and the Tomb Banshee just rolled terribly as well, but I wasn't expecting too much.
My attitude towards the Tomb Banshee in these games is starting to be, I'm just going to ignore her and let her do what she does because I feel like on average she's probably going to do not that much.
I'd have preferred to have an extra unit than have one hero aside.
Even like 10 Chain Rolls might have served you better in this mission because you could have left the Glaive Wraith hanging back on the corner or something, and 10 Chain Rolls is actually quite a good force for taking objectives. Or something like that.
And we learn about raising objectives. I don't know, it didn't ever seem to be a good reason to do that in this game. I guess maybe if you're behind on victory points and you hold 2 objectives and you think you can win the wound off, you might be able to get slightly more victory points out of the battle round, or at least deny victory points to your opponent.
I guess that is a tactic, is if you can get models into your opponent's part of the board and raise their objectives that they're wanting to sit on with ranged units or whatever.
Well, the other alternative is to abandon my home objective and just go for yours, but that's a pretty risky strategy.
I suppose the Night-Questor, had he ended up in sole control of that objective, could have raised it.
Well, yeah, maybe if you were behind or something. But there's always a risk that you only get 1 victory point from it anyway.
Yes.
Anyway, I don't think there's too much more to say about this game or this issue, so if you like this content, please leave a like and subscribe. Leave any comments. How do you think of raising as a mechanic, or if you've played this game, how it went for you? We've been the Total Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.